Yes. I mean, it's not surprising that it's been doing well the last 6 months because obviously the trade war, if you want to call it that way, or the tech war, only started really in May. So the first 4.5 months were really business as usual. And then they could do the necessary thing, do the necessary planning to make sure they had enough supply, enough components to do through the end of the half year and the rest of the year. But obviously, as I said during the results, the rest of the year might be difficult in terms of, because it's still not very clear what they can do in terms of US suppliers.
But you know, they've said already, they said today that they've signed 50 5G contracts to date. Presumably, now that they've signed those contracts, they are contracts. The other party can't pull out of those contracts. So they've already got a decent pipeline.
Yes, I mean, the 5G market in the vendors is a three-player market, so you've got Huawei, Ericsson and Nokia. They all signed between 40 and 50 contracts worldwide already with different operators. So it's competition, it's a market. They're doing very well. They're probably the market leader in that market. Obviously, in terms of the medium to long-term opportunities, if they need to have components from the US, because they spent $11 billion with US suppliers last year, which is about 35–40% of the entire operational expenses. If they can't replace those components, then they might have an issue both on the smartphone side and on the kind of 5G vendor side as well.
You know, the issue with Europe and the way it's been approaching the Huawei situation is it hasn't really been unanimous. Each country has kind of been adopting their own method of dealing with it, and some countries are saying we're banning the use of Huawei equipment in its entirety. Some people are saying the UK, non-national security equipment we are happy to deal with. The question is, how easy is it for any companies or countries not wanting to cooperate with Huawei to offset that hole by going to other telecom providers? And here I'm talking about the Ericssons, the Nokias of the world.
There are two things. So obviously on the European side, the European Commission has said, you know, we're going to have greater scrutiny, but we're going to have a full ban. The French have more or less done the same thing. The UK, we think, is going to go that way. Obviously, we have a new Prime Minister. He might go in a different direction. What's difficult is that if you're using Huawei for previous generation of equipment, so for 4G, you need to get rid of Huawei for 4G as well as for 5G. So it's not like you have Huawei for 4G and you move to Ericsson for 5G. You need to get rid of Huawei for 4G and can you get rid of it entirely. And obviously that's a big, big expense if you're an operator. We're talking billions of dollars, and obviously it's going to take time. It's not like you can click a finger and within 2 months you can get rid of that equipment. So it's costly. It takes a lot of time, so it's very, very difficult for operators which are already using Huawei for some of their equipment to be able to fully replace it if there were to be a ban in specific market.
And so it's very difficult. Huawei know that as well. I want to talk about their smartphone volumes. Shipment volumes are up 24%, in contrast to analyst expectations of Apple numbers, because Apple don't publish their smartphone numbers anymore, but have been dropping sequentially every quarter. The China market share of Huawei is 38%. None of this bodes particularly well for Apple, who are set to be releasing their earnings later today.
I mean, yes. I mean, in terms of Huawei smartphone, you have to look at it in two different ways. So you've got the Chinese market, when they're very strong at, and they don't really need any kind of US components. So they use Android. Google is banned in China, so they can have their own version. And then you've got the rest of the world. In the rest of the world, it might be more difficult if they can't use Google and Android, because even though they can replace and have an operating system, the issue is not so much the operating system in itself, but the app ecosystem on top of it. And we've seen Microsoft and other companies fail to try to create that ecosystem. In terms of Apple, I mean, they're not giving the numbers for a reason, in terms that it's not doing very well. You need to look at expectation with Apple. I mean, the iPhone has been the most successful consumer product of all time. We're talking 1.5 billion in sales and $1 trillion in revenue. So if your expectation...
Yes, but the market is forward-looking, right?
I know, but if you're looking at Apple in terms of they need to do the same thing, then very, very difficult to do so. We're still talking about a company that's going to make between 15 and 20 billion in profit in the next quarter, in a few quarters. So they're still doing fairly well, but not as well as before. So you're right, in the forward-looking, very difficult for them to find a new iPhone killer or a new iPhone replacement, but still a company that will do well in my view.
Hi, I'm Joanna Bersecci, and thank you for watching. You can check out more of our videos by clicking on the boxes on the screen. And don't forget to subscribe to our channel for more from CNBC International. Thank you for watching.